Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business and Life Stories, the interview show where James and I bring you some of the world's most interesting people. With us this week, the guy we've been trying to track down for a couple of months now, Mike Friend, finally had time in his schedule to talk to us, and we're pretty excited to have him here. He runs Quantum Business Systems. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to James.
Thank you so much, Mike, and welcome, Mike.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. On that note, apologies, it's taken me a little bit to get on here. I've been trying to get on and things just kept coming up and then I got sick. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I know that music is a common theme and it's probably quite diverse, but just before coming on this podcast, I recall there's an English rave band called The Prodigy, and they released an album, I think they called Outnumbered But Never Outgunned. And I was thinking, well, I'm outnumbered because there's two Mikes and one James. And with your military background and Mike's hunting background, I'm probably outgunned as well. So, so that sort of leads me into the first sort of question, Mike. So you're in the military, in the Air Force for almost 10 years, I believe, starting from 2000. And how was, if you could give us a brief overview, but then also what things did the military teach you, which you then carried into civilian and also business life?
Sure. So military was an experience. It literally is an experience that no other human being on the earth could ever experience unless you've gone through it. Good times, bad times, ups and downs, a lot of tension, a lot of stress, but there's also some fun. The biggest thing I think that I was able to take away was a couple things, was make some really good friends and got to know some people from all over the world. I grew up in a small town in Michigan, and there was really no diversity, like, at all. And so, like, when I joined the military, this is my first time being exposed to like people from all over the world, and I was like kind of in shock, but I was like, this is really cool because I got to meet some really awesome people. Got to see some really cool stuff, got to go to some places where there was a lot of sand and no water, and got to swim in the Red Sea, which is pretty cool. Seen Saddam's palace and all that stuff, and it was a good time. But I didn't stay in because I knew that even from such a young age, I knew I wanted to get into like a public safety profession. So that was like a firefighter and law enforcement or something. So, long story short, we didn't have any money for college. We grew up extremely, extremely poor. And I managed to get into a semester of college and realized like I just wasn't going to be able to afford it. So I didn't want to quit though. So I started looking in the military, and lo and behold, I was probably only about an hour or two signing the paperwork to join in the Marine Corps. And I'm glad I didn't, because I think what saved me was Thanksgiving break. Because after Thanksgiving break, I went back home and thought about it, or back to college and thought about it. And so I decided to join the Air Force. And then still throughout the time, I knew I didn't want to make it a career. So what I ended up doing was I did my time, and then I went into public safety for a while. But what I was able to take from the military into, like, even through that entire transition into what I'm doing right now, I think it's a lot of dedication, and like, you don't give up. And the military thing is like, you leave no man behind. And so like, that was the biggest thing. Is like, even like, because there is no quitting in the military. It's like, you don't, that's not an option, right? And so mentally, physically, you just don't quit. And so I was able to bring that, I think, through the military, through the business sector, and start my own business, because as you and I all know, starting a business is hard. It's not easy. There's a reason why, unfortunately, 95% of businesses fail. So, it's been rough. It hasn't been easy. It's definitely had its ups and downs, probably more downs than ups. But I think that was the biggest thing that I was able to take that kind of saved me and got me through this whole process, that I was able to bring through into the business side. Especially, my wife was working an opposite shift, and then we went through our struggles of trying to have a child, and finally 3 years later, through emotional, physical, and financial pain, we were finally able to have a blessing of one child, and she's awesome. She's our miracle little girl, and we love her to death. But balancing trying to do opposite shift work and then being basically like my wife was at the time we were kind of like we were like single parents, like, because she would take care of the child, our daughter, during one shift, and then I would come home and take her, and then at the same time I was trying to go to school and get my second degree in software engineering and start a business at the same time. So it was like all of these things, and finally it's like I dropped out of the second degree, and still that mentality, I guess, is what really pushed me through. So that's kind of got me where I am right now.
Yeah, and it really is a lot of entrepreneurship, and it sounds like aspects of the military as well. It's the internal resilience, isn't it? It's how much we do physically. The real stuff comes from the inside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to have that inside you. Otherwise, you just when things get tough, it's going to be very easy for you to just think like, I just can't do this, or I'm going to quit. So.
And talking about things getting tough, I understand you had a nasty car accident 10 or 11, 12 years ago. It sounds like you were quite seriously injured, but it almost sounds like it was a bit of a turning point as well, or maybe opening another door to another passion, another interest.
Yeah, it was in 2004. It was October 4th, 2004, actually. A couple of friends and I went out one night, and we didn't really drink at all, so that wasn't the factor. But the factor was speed, and essentially the car went off the side of the road, like 200-300 feet, and basically every time the car landed, when it rolled, it landed on the front passenger side, which is where I was sitting. I was knocked out unconscious for about 2 or 3 days. Broke my, I believe it was a C6, so right here, broke that, and I had double vision and a severe concussion for about 3 months. So it was almost like looking cross-eyed, except your eyes weren't crossed. The weirdest thing in the world, scary as hell, because you don't know if that's going to go away, and you're thinking about what's going to happen the rest of my life. I can't see straight. I couldn't drive. It was hard to walk. But thankfully, for me, I believe in God, and so whoever believes in whatever. But thankfully, by the grace of God, I slowly got better, and that was kind of a turning point to thinking, is like, life is. It sounds cliche, but it's short, and that was kind of like the point, because I didn't really think too much about it before. You don't think about that stuff, and that was kind of like the point of that was kind of like the turning point. Is like, if I want to make the most of whatever I'm doing, you need to go at least all in. And there's going to be times, of course, where you're just doubting yourself and doubting what you're doing, and it's like, I don't want to do this, or we're all human. We all get frustrated with things. We all get upset with things. We all get offended with things. You don't believe in this political party that I don't, and it's like, oh, well, you believe in that and I don't, or the dude cuts you off in traffic, which sometimes I still get mad at, but but that's where he comes back. We're all human. We think about are those moments, like I heard this from, I think it was Brendan Burchard one time, and he said something on a podcast that really struck me, and he said, he was talking about somebody, I think it was Brendan or maybe it was Tony Robbins, I don't know, but he was talking about, like, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, and then you get to work and you're at this, you're talking with your coworkers and you're thinking, my whole, it's lunchtime, right? And people are saying, they're asking you, like, what's wrong, dude? Like, what's the matter? It's like, oh, my whole morning was ruined, the dude cut me off in traffic and almost, caused an accident on the highway, or, they got my coffee order, my breakfast order wrong. It's ruined my, my whole morning is gone. And the question that I remember was important was like, did it really ruin your morning, or did that brief second, did you allow that to ruin your morning? So that 1 minute for that event that happened in the past, it was only 1 minute or a few seconds that you let that ruin your morning. And so that really struck me. And that's kind of started thinking, I was like, that's really profound. And that's kind of really helped me change, like, some of the ways that I was thinking about, like, day-to-day stuff, and trying to appreciate it. And it's hard sometimes, right? Because you guys are business owners as well, and it's stressful, and it's got a lot of downs, and sometimes you just want to, like, throw papers off the desk or whatever. But it's in, like, those moments where I think it's like, okay, let's get mad, appreciate the emotions, and then figure it out. And then just not let that ruin your day. So, and I'm still guilty of it. I'm not perfect, of course. I mean, there are some times where, things get thrown off track, but, I try to bring myself back around, and my wife is generous enough to help me with that sometimes. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would love to ask you about your work within Tony's coaching programs too. But I know that all the top coaches and so many people, they talk about gratitude, and that was certainly a turning point in my life a few years ago. It sort of took me out of being a victim to being grateful for just the warmth of the sun on my back, say, or health, or my children, or like whatever it is, and referring back to that car accident, I think I know that when difficulties come along, if we can then just reflect back on what we're grateful for, the emergency services who saved your life, and the hospital, and etc. etc. And it's the same with having a bad day in the office, isn't it? There is always someone. There is always a good thing happening in general. For most of us. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just, do we choose to see it?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
is the way, to think about it. There's
like
you
I
said.
was, sorry.
No, I was just say, like you said, there's always good around in some way, shape, or form. It's just, how do you choose to perceive it? How do you interpret it?
I read a little Taoist story once. There are these two monks. There was a novice monk, and there was a master, and they were walking along a path, and they came to a river, and there was a woman there waiting to cross. It was either too deep for her or too fast flowing, and obviously these were ascetic monks, and touching women in any way or form was obviously forbidden. But without a second thought, the master picked the woman up and carried her across and put her down on the other side, and then they just carried on and walking. And after another, I don't know, let's say it was another kilometer or so, the junior monk said, "Master, how could you do that? Or why did you carry the woman across?" And he said, and the master answered back, "Why are you still carrying her?"
Ah.
Which yeah. So very, very, it's sort of really deep, but it's so true. We can either choose to let things go, or we can carry them. And
yeah.
So a mentee of Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I went through his program, his RMT program back. I can't remember now. Gosh, maybe it was 4 years ago. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, it was through Tony Robbins' program, and the other teachers were Chloe Madonis, Mark Pasha, Magli Pasha, and it was very interesting and like just eye-opening into, like, it was kind of like my first time being exposed to the coaching world. Because I got to see, and we actually are able to use Tony's strategies. So like when he teaches like the 6 human needs, and all these other strategies that he does on stage, we are able to use those. Of course, we're bound by legal terms, of course. But we're able to use those. And it was my first time being exposed to really the coaching world and how to change and transform like people's lives, and like really understand like understand like human, like kind of like an NLP, like an NLP analysis, like psychology and all that stuff, and just understand like why people do what they do, and how you can get people to change and get out of their way, and get them onto whatever path that they want to be on. So yeah, I mean, it was a really eye-opening experience. And that's kind of got us into started venturing into a little bit of relationship coaching, because the whole program is kind of around life and relationship coaching. And there's some business stuff in there as well. And, we started doing it for a little bit and kind of implementing some of the stuff. But the more that I did it, the more that I realized is like a lot of the business owners have relationship problems. I'm not saying like other people don't, but a lot of the problems that are within the business start with the problems, between the couple, and then that intermixes between each other. And so I finally, I found more passion in working with the actual business owner, like on their business, so that, the relationship can get better on, I guess, maybe as like the, I don't know what you want to call it, like the after effect, I guess, so to speak, or it's like a byproduct, like increasing the relationship and improving the relationship. But I'm helping with the business owner, like with their, because business owners, like if you got money issues, or if you got marketing problems, or if you're not bringing in the money, like that just compounds the problems in your life. Like, I know Grant Cardone likes to say, 10x problems, but this is like 100x. That's like, I don't know if it's number one. I want to say number one, but it is one of the biggest factors for, like, whether it's married couples or partners or whoever, of one person or two persons of business owners, like why they're having issues. So and I just found like marketing and all that stuff just super, super exciting. Like as soon as I dove into that world, and as soon as I got targeted with one of Russell Brunson's ads and I got into his world, I just got drawn in. You can see like right here, right? Like all this stuff over here. And like I literally got like 3 Traffic Secrets books, and I got the trilogy and all that stuff. But then when I started getting,
he's a fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And as soon as I started getting drawn into his world and started doing more of that, like I just found like myself like so immersed into marketing. It was like, this is awesome. Like I love this stuff. So that was eventually the route that I decided to go down, because I think for me it was more of like a personal thing, because I realized that through my own experiences when I first started, my very first starting in business online, when I realized I didn't want to do in public safety anymore, especially when our daughter was born, and just before, I knew I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. Kind of like all of us entrepreneurs, we don't want to work for anyone anymore. We don't ask for time off. We want to work from anywhere we want, or at least have the option to.
Or James and I are 100% unemployable anywhere in the world. So
yeah,
we had no choice.
Yeah, and I kind of and everybody's it's funny as you mentioned that. I heard somebody say it was what's her name? She's high up in the anyway, I can't remember her name. She's high up in the ClickFunnels world. Miller, I think, is her last name. But anyway, she said something about she had like 6 kids, and she said the same thing. She's like, basically that means I'm unemployable. So she had to do something. And so my first business was I started an online affiliate marketing. Then I got into the Tony Robbins and of course the Dan Lok thing. And that was really like the thing for me, was like, because I personally like struggled so much learning to do all this, because there's so much noise out there, and everybody's telling you, no, you got to have the latest chatbot software. No, everybody's saying, no, you just dump more ads, you increase your ad spend, and you will get your leads. And like there was so much confusion. I'm like, this is crazy. And that was kind of like my biggest reason of like why I decided to go down the road that I'm on. It's just kind of like sift through all that stuff, because if you don't have, like, I focus on like the marketing fundamentals and the foundations, and then we stack on top of that. Because if you don't have the fundamentals down, if you don't have the foundation, if you don't stand out from your competitors, you're done, especially in today's world. So that was really my passion of why I decided to go down the path that I'm on, because of my own personal struggles to help other business owners. So yeah, that was the biggest reason, I guess. Well, for one, why I chose that path, and 2, why I went down that rabbit hole just a second ago.
That's one of the things that really sets you apart, Mike, is, I've looked at some of the materials you send out and your website and these other things. And even the way you interact on LinkedIn it's a good example of the same thing that we tell people. And it's like, you've got to build relationships, right?
Yeah.
Can't just have a bunch of ads and spend $1 zillion on Facebook and all these other resources and look just like everybody else. It comes down to, are you a real human being? And as you just said, are you in business to help people or not?
Yeah.
And, the classic, I'm in business to help people. Yeah, myself, right? That doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
it's so transparent today. People can see it. So I'm really glad you don't do that. It's really good, man.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it is complete 100% transparency now with technology literally like in your pocket, right? I mean, anybody can, find anything. And that, with and I won't go down too far down this rabbit hole, but with like the way that iOS and Google and now Google's changing their ad platforms, like it's going to require people to do marketing in a little bit different way. And people are like freaking out. And especially now LinkedIn made their changes to where you went from 100 connections a day or something like that down to like 100 a week. And a lot of people are just freaking out about it because that, for one of two reasons. It's like they relied on one platform or they relied solely on ads. And that's where I go back to like the fundamentals of marketing. And it doesn't matter what those platforms are doing, as long as you understand the fundamentals and you understand like human behavior and the way that the market is shifting, then you can go into any platform, no matter what it is, and just go in there and completely dominate it. But you've got to understand like all those, pieces. And I'm kind of putting together this little program right now to put these pieces together to help explain that better. But it's not just about the chat bot. It's not just about the text messages. It's not just about the ads. It's a lot more than that. So that's kind of what I've been focused on and have really helped business owners understand and, do very, very well.
So in the area of attempting to understand buyer behavior, something you've written about, one of the things you talk to people about.
Mhm.
What advice would you have for our listeners? I'm sure everybody by now is done up their 100th avatar and they're trying to project who they're going after.
Yeah.
But none of that ever really helps. It's a good base, but it doesn't help that much when you're actually trying to talk to people. So how do folks go about understanding what their buyers' behaviors should look like?
So we have to understand that in any given market, and I'll try to condense this because I could talk on this forever, but in any given market, the average of any given market, only 3% of the people in your market are ready to buy like right now, right? And it varies 1 to 3%, whatever, depending on who you ask for, but let's just say 3%. The other 97% are what we call like information seekers. So like perfect examples, like if your laptop went out and you need one like yesterday to put on a presentation, like you fall into that 3%, right? You're going to go out and you're going to buy one. You're going to go out there, you're going to do a little bit of research, but you're going to go out there and you're going to buy a laptop because you need one now. The other 97% are doing a bunch of research. They're trying to figure out like, what's the best laptop? Does the keyboard light up? Do I need, HD camera? Do I need all this other stuff? And they're just out there searching for information. So that's the first thing to understand is understand your market. And most business owners, if you look at all of the ads, if you like Google ads and a lot of those, especially, most business owners are focused solely on that 3%. Perfect example is if you just go to Google and type in your city and just Google like dentist or chiropractor or CPA, like they all say the same thing. Best dentist, been in business for 4,000 years, quality, dependable, free consultation, right? And then you click on the ad and it sends people to their website. But if you, and again, those are for the people that are really ready to buy now, right? But you can tap into that 97% by giving them what they want, information. So if you were a dentist, for example, and I just learned this today, so this will be a perfect example because I had cleaning today, that when you so I didn't know, but like of course I know that there's certain foods that erase the enamel off your teeth, but there are certain other foods that you didn't know. And there are certain things like if you have like an energy drink, which I'm guilty of drinking and I didn't know this, but if I have an energy drink and I drink it throughout the day, like one can throughout the day or throughout the morning, that does more damage to your teeth than if you were to just drink it like all in one sitting because your mouth doesn't have time to replenish the pH and the acidity levels. I didn't know that, right? Most people don't. But those are the things like you can put that into a free PDF, a free video, a free guide or something like that, and put that into an ad and drive traffic to that. Then it's doing two things. One, you're giving somebody the information that they're looking for, right? But you got to have a captivating headline, something that will grab people from thumb scrolling all day. And then the first one is you're giving people information, and two, you're building your email list. right? So it's serving two purposes. So by doing that, you can tap into that 97% and then nurture them through a bunch of emails saying, hey, did you know this about, dentures or teeth or toothpaste or whatever it is, and just provide them with information. And then, you can get them to come on in for a consultation. So those are the two biggest things, is like understanding that 97% versus 3%, and then tapping into the 97% of the market by giving them information. And you can do this in any industry. You can do this with CPAs, you can do this with chiropractors, you can do this massage places, pretty much any industry that you can think of, you can do that too, as long as you've got the captivating headline that's going to stop the scroll, so to speak, grab somebody's attention, and then draw them into your opt-in page, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic, Mike. I learned marketing stuff from one of my first mentors, Evan Pagan, and he talks about being able to communicate with the 2 a.m. voice. And so that's the voice when we wake up in the middle of the night, and it's usually irrational. My teeth are going to fall out. I'm never going to be able to afford the dental treatment. My wife doesn't like me now because I have grotty teeth. I mean, it's all the irrational voice, right? But if we can tap into that, as you said, with the captivating title and the content, and then provide them value and even a solution, and then it's another level of a marketing, isn't it?
It really is a whole nother level of marketing. And if there's one other point that I could give like business owners, is like, we all have heard understand your customer avatar, and what do people really say about that, and like what are a lot of people talking? There's like, oh, okay, let's think about what's in our what keeps our customers up at night, like what do they want, how old are they, where do they live, all this information. But there's a deep dive research that I do when I'm looking for a specific target market, whether it's for myself or for a client or somebody that I'm working with. And so what we do is, like, I will literally spend anywhere from 2 to 5 days just on researching a target market. And what I do is I go in and I research like all of the data points. Like I'll go into and I'll do Google, right? You can do Google, of course, it'll give you information. You can go down a rabbit hole, a bunch of rabbit holes on Reddit, searching for your target audience and understanding, like, this, at this point, you're not guessing. Like, people are telling you in the forums, like, what their problem is. And this is like gold nugget information. Quora is another fantastic website. You could check out BuzzSumo, find out what's trending, what the topics are that are trending. And Answer the Public is another good one, because that is pulling data from the search engines, showing you that this is what people are searching for, for these words right here. And like I said, I'll spend, anywhere from 2 to 5 days just going through down all these rabbit holes and literally finding out what people are talking about and what's bothering them. And then you can craft your sales message and your offer and all that stuff based on that data, and you just put it all into an Excel sheet or something like that. But you can even go in depth further, and you can use websites like excuse me, what is it? Can't think off the top of my head. I use it all the time. Golly, I can't think of them. I'm drawing a blank. But it's a website to where you can actually go in and find people's website where they're drawing organic traffic, what their paid ads look like, where their paid ads are coming from. I want to say it's not Segmetrics, but it's golly, I cannot think of it. That'd be one of those times, right? No pressure.
Yeah. I even know those.
It's not Wicked Reports, but anyway, it'll come to me later. But you can use websites like those to find out like what keywords these people are targeting and ranking for, and then you can start building your own offer. And it takes a lot of work. And that's the thing, is like, most people aren't really willing to do a lot of that work, but when you do it, like, you will come out on top, because you are literally now speaking your target audience's language.
Fantastic.
So
Mike, that's absolute gold there. And we're coming towards the end. So would you like to tell us just in 2 or 3 minutes, any offers, what you're working on, how people can reach you? We should obviously put all your social links up, but yeah, just give us a quick summary of what you're up to, please. No.
Sure. Right now, I'm finishing building out a program. And I'm still kind of testing out what I want to do with it right now. But it's basically bringing in some people to. So whether it's like right now, the biggest thing is a lot of businesses are struggling to find like employees. There's a bunch of different reasons why they are. Businesses are reopening. But since my target audience is small businesses, I'm thinking about how can we bring them help at least. That's going to at least help alleviate some of that stress. And so there's a couple different things. There's like looking into like VAs, or there's doing like college interns and things like that. So I'm trying to put together like a program to do that and see if we can help some of these business owners out. So that's kind of the biggest one that I'm working on right now. But really, it's really just being able to reach out to a lot of business owners and impact as many as that I can. We've got a few programs that they can inquire about. They just need to go to quantumbusinesssystems.com, and they go to /free consult. And they can go there and take a look at that. The other website, if they just want information, if they want to download my book, or if they want to look at the magazine that I was featured in, they can go to my other website. I might put it in the chat if you want it, but it's msmbusinessstrategies.com. So it's like Mike, Sam, Mike, businessstrategies.com. And there's some information on there. There's a evaluator on there that you can actually answer some questions, and it'll actually tell you how effective your marketing is. And like I said, there's my book on there and all that stuff. And there's ways to reach out to me and get a hold of me. So, and of course, social media.
Fantastic. Mike, over to you to finish the podcast, mate.
That's a fantastic interview with Mike Friend. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to having you come back on again. You've given our listeners a great deal of really fantastic information.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm happy to be on. Yeah, just let me know, man. I'll be more than happy to come back and throw out some more nuggets and do whatever I can to kind of entertain maybe your listeners. I don't know if I haven't put them to sleep yet.
Oh, I doubt that. And hey, folks, all the links, websites, etc., to get a hold of Mike and see what he's up to are going to be listed down below this video.